What does the term deadly emotions mean?
Sounds scary.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
Hello, this is Yetta Decker and Ken Decker, and we're excited to be with you on another episode of Life's Inside Track, where we share techniques, thoughts, and tools that we all need, we all deserve, you, I, everyone, to turn our house into home where our families thrive and we live the best life possible.
And yet I don't think that emotions are necessarily bad, do you?
Well,
Although when you have emotions, I don't know what to do with them.
that's truth right there. So what we're going to learn in this episode is how unexpressed emotions, the ones that you shove down or the ones that bubble up as anger, both of those, overly expressed or underexpressed emotions can actually cause you to get like super sick.
Yeah.
That's deadly.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Mhm.
And it is scary because we don't always even know what's happening to us.
And I recently went to Toronto on a business trip, and I drove down and drove back in the same day.
Yep.
So that's about 10 hours behind the wheel. And I was listening to a book. The book was by Dr. I don't probably miss his name up. Gabor Mate. I don't know. It's French. Mate with the accent.
Okay. Gabor.
Gabor?
Okay. So recently when you read the book, what did you learn? Because there's got to be a reason you're telling us about a book.
Oh, yes. Because it was rather depressing, actually. Because what he was doing was people that he was seeing that had terminal illnesses, he would research how their emotional state was, how they dealt with emotions, how their family dynamics were, and how that affected their disease.
And I'm almost afraid to ask, and yet I think I know the answer. He discovered that the suppressed emotions and the overly expressed emotions, probably even to a lesser degree, but sitting in the state of unhealthy emotions or emotions that were literally eating them alive.
Yeah. And the name of the book was When the Body Says No.
When the body says no. If you haven't read it or listened to it, you might want to go get it if you struggle at all with your anger or your emotions getting the better of you. When they take off with you and you didn't plan on it, that kind.
Yeah. And also the other thing was people suppressed their feelings to serve when they weren't healthy. They kept giving, kept serving. If someone demanded that they serve them.
Demanded or even requested.
Yeah. And right through their illness, right to their last days, they were serving if they were able to, physically, at all.
Right. So, and you're talking potentially cancer and other terminal illnesses.
Yes.
What more did you learn from the book that can actually make a difference for us as we're listening and with what you share? What was why are we recording this show about deadly emotions?
Yeah. Well, he was studying things like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, liver disease, all kinds of things. And what he found was even if they had the gene that said you're predisposed to this disease, many people didn't get it. And so he wondered why would some get it who weren't predisposed. Rented lips. That's the word. Predisposed. If they were predisposed to it, they didn't get it, and other people did, or people that were predisposed did get it. And so he tried to see, well, what's the difference? What's the difference maker? And in case after case after case, the science started to show that suppressed emotions, suppressed things of maybe it was hurts or abuse or things like that people shoved down, that expedited their illnesses.
And in some cases, it sounds like what you're saying created their illness. That's like a hard thing to hear.
It is. And especially as a man. Women get the bad rap of having more emotions. And maybe they can express them better in some cases. Men usually say, well, I've only got one emotion. It's like happy or angry.
That's two.
Well, I guess so. One bad emotion, one good emotion.
Right, one of each, one in each camp.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say all men, and it certainly is a stereotype that exists, right? Men tend to have a harder time expressing what's going on for them from an emotional perspective. And yet there are a lot of women that also suppress emotion. So the bottom line from the book, I want you to go a little bit deeper into what can we do about it? Like, okay, it's all great that we recognize that. Well, it's not great. It's kind of lousy. Except it's helpful to know that as I potentially repress or suppress an emotion that isn't healthy, that doesn't serve me, I'm setting up the opportunity to get sick. Even colds and flus and the less evasive illnesses, I find when I've been living in a state of, maybe not happy-go-lucky, but where life is easier, I don't tend to get as physically ill. Whereas when I'm sadder,
and when you're happy, I don't get ill either.
That's funny. Okay, so what did he say we can do about it?
Well, I think it's kind of obvious. Do the opposite. Find an avenue to express your emotions, right? Find a safe place, a safe person.
Venting all the time can't be good either.
Well, it's not about venting.
Well, it sounds like you just said find a place to express your emotions. That sounds like venting to me.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's how you're expressing your emotions.
Okay.
Right? Getting in touch with them, recognizing them, they're there. Don't suppress them. And as well as, that anger, sometimes you got to suppress anger, right? It's not appropriate to express it, but maybe there's a way of replacing it through things like meditation or through prayer, through going for walks, from de-stressing. And like I said, share your emotional things from your childhood, even if they're stuck in your head, right?
Get them out.
Yeah.
Just not in an explosive way, necessarily. Yeah. Hopefully not.
Yeah, like you went, where did you go a couple years ago?
That's another story for another day. However, we'll share a little teeny piece of it. Did go to a healing retreat for basically a week where it was 2 counselors in Yetta. That was a little on the intense side, and I don't recommend... It sure was
for those counselors. It took 2 to handle Yetta.
I bet it was. And yet what it did is allowed me to see them, explore them, and not get attached to them. Deal with it and then move, I wouldn't say past them, but move through them. And it's been a much easier journey since then, actually.
It has, hasn't it? For both of us.
For both of us. All right. So she said nothing with her voice and everything with her care, with her glance, with her ability to help another. She didn't say a word, though.
Yeah. We're grateful to be your partners in moving forward together.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.